Grip Arm Sport, Premium, Arm Wrestling Apparel.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daniel Procopciuc. A highly anticipated return for Mr. Doug Erlich.
Daniel Procopciuc versus Doug Erlich. This is a pretty interesting match for me because Daniel Procopciuc is one of my favorite pullers in the world. Daniel dominated the 70 kg class for years and recently started to move up to test himself against the heavier competition. Doug Erlich, on the other hand, isn't quite as known, but is possibly just as high level. The first time I seen Doug was when he pulled Tony Kotowski in WAL a few years back. Doug is a very aggressive puller and always seems to show up in phenomenal shape. If I think there is one flaw to Doug, it may be his endurance. And as far as Procopciuc goes, one of his biggest attributes is his endurance, which is where I believe this match will be won. Doug may be able to sneak out a victory in the early rounds, but I believe Daniel's experience, table IQ, and endurance will ultimately get him the win.
Please welcome Zurab Tavberidze.
Zurab Tavberidze versus Rob Vigent Jr. Zurab has been consistently competing at East versus West at the highest level and training ferociously with minimal time off between matches. RVJ, on the other hand, has not been training consistently and hasn't had a major match since his Arm Wars loss to Sasho Andreev. Though RVJ has been doing some table time the last couple of months in preparation for this match, I just don't believe that his head has been in the game, and so much of this sport is a mental thing. At this time, I don't think RVJ will be ready for Zurab, and I believe that Zurab will win this match pretty handedly. I do wish RVJ the best of luck, and I know that many fans in the arm wrestling community will be rooting for him and his comeback to the sport.
He is from Georgia, Revaz Lutidze.
Easy money, Dave Chaffee.
Revaz vs. Easy Money Dave Chaffee. Dave is one of the strongest pullers in the world, and I believe that Revaz will have his hands full. Recently, I got to train with Dave and his training partners, and he is said to be on a different level right now. Revaz recently defeated Derek Smith with ease and had a very good match with Michael Todd, with Revaz outlasting and becoming the victor. I do believe that Michael Todd has better endurance than Dave, and Revaz's path to victory will be to blow up Dave's hand and get him to pull without his wrist. On the other hand, Dave is still very strong, even without a wrist, and can generate freakish side pressure from that position. I don't think Revaz will be able to stop this pressure, and Dave will take this match in a very close and hard-fought battle.
Mr. Paul Linn. Sasho Andreev.
Paul Linn versus Sasho Andreev. And what a match this is. I think Paul is the underdog in almost every match he's in, and time again, he proves the people wrong. Paul is the current East versus West champion and is coming off an impressive victory over Rustam Babayev. Even though Rustam got injured during the match, you could see Paul turning the match around in his favor. Sasho Andreev will be a very difficult match for Paul. Sasho can generate so much down pressure and hook pronation that will really test Paul's bicep. If Paul can keep his back pressure and pronation, I believe he'll win the match. If Sasho opens Paul's arm, Paul will have a very difficult day at the table. Of course, I'm rooting for my guy from Pennsylvania to come home with the W. Let's get it, Paul Linn.
Kydyrgali, Ongarbaev. Irakli, Zirakashvili.
Kydyrgali Ongarbaev versus Irakli Zirakashvili. One of the few matches on the card that is an East versus East match. Ongarbaev from Kazakhstan and Irakli from the Republic of Georgia. Both men coming off recent victories over the greatest arm wrestler of all time, John Brzezinski. Both Ongarbaev and Irakli have very similar styles, with monstrous back pressure and strong hands. In Irakli's match versus John, we seen John take Irakli's hand multiple times. However, Irakli proved that he was able to pull without his hand, putting his frame on the line and testing his structure. This is probably the closest match on the card and the hardest to predict. Irakli's flop wrist may end up being the deciding factor, and I can't wait for this one.
Devon! Genadi! Kvikvinia!
And last but not least, the East versus West main event. Devon Larratt versus Genadi Kvikvinia. These two are complete polar opposites right now. Between their training, such as Devon's thumb training and heavy table time, versus Genadi's use of heavy weights and maxing out. Whether or not Devon is really this strong, or just playing mind games, he seems to have this match in the bag without hesitation. If Devon goes for his open top roll and gets stretched out, I think that Genadi has the ability to transition to a flop press and put Devon's arm to the pad. If Devon gets his open top roll, but stays between 12 and 2 o'clock, the match is Devon's. Also, I do believe that Devon will come forward in this match, force a hook, just to prove his point against Genadi. If the match goes to a hook, Devon's leverage will be an advantage. He'll get his shoulder behind it and take the victory. Let's go, Devon. Opana. To buy the pay-per-view, make sure you go to coresports.com or download the app. I'll leave a link down in the description.